guys about my strength stacking berserker build. So it's kind of universal and just generally good for pretty much all skill that can use steep spray efficiently. For example, I now have Flame Sash. You can also swap this to Berserking Blade or Whirlwind if you want to. But yeah, let's go over the gear first. So since we're doing strength stacking, we pretty much want to have as much strength on our character as possible, because we're obtaining damage from this mod on Axis. So +2 to 4 added attack physical damage for 12 strength. You have both of these mods on like both of the axes. That's the source of our base damage. So starting from helmet. For here I choose Last with Chaos, and with the very last mode that should be corroded. So I think it used to be like a chance to deal double damage per something like whatever amount of strength, but after corrosion it's got transformed into like a percentage attack damage per 1000 strength. The wording here is a bit off, because it sounds like this just increased attack damage, but it's not true. Turns out it's just like additional or extra attack damage. So it's this is very strong. Always get this helmet if you're going all out on the strength stack. And our chest is obviously going to be the Everlasting Flame. And if you have money, you can get the chest with the first mod corroded, and it should be like a nicely rolled, because it can go like from 60 to 90, and you generally want to have like as much strength as possible, so you always aim for the one with the highest roll on this mod. This chest is a bit expensive right now. If you find one that's like around, yeah, let's just check the market real quick. So over 80 full percent strength. That's gonna cost you approximately 1.700. Sorry, like 1.7k FA. So you know, really depends on how many FA you have. You can either go for the one with the corroded mode or not. And about the amulets, so I generally advise people to go for the False God skin if you're doing any attribute stacking, like whichever you're doing, like for example like strength stacking, dexterity stacking, or intelligence stacking. Doesn't matter, because this amulet, if it's like has a very good modifier, it can give you like huge damage boost. Like for example, I take this off, my strength goes like to 1.8k, but if I put this on, 2.3k, right? So yeah, if you get the money, definitely get one of those with the very good modifiers. You can get percentage all stats, and or you can, for example, since I'm doing strength stacking, generally aim for this mod, and one of those percentage all stats and damage per 16 of the highest stats. This one is you know, this is not mandatory. If you want, you can buy the amulet with this kind of modifier, like a percentage max life, if you have the money. But if you don't, you're good with the, I think, one of the damage modifier, one of the percentage all stats, and one of the flat attribute. Yeah, so onto gloves. For here, I chose this base because I just want to fill up my resistance, because this character is like lacks resistance so badly. Because I have like 4 slot taken, by legendary gears that does not have like any, well, except for the helmet. Like I just need resistance badly, so I just choose a base with some resist on it. If your resistance like looks fine, you can also go for other bases that you think is whichever you think is better. Doesn't really matter. So, but the base has to be like a strength glove, right? Yeah. So obviously, if you are only going for Flame Slash, since Flame Slash has like 50% of physical damage converted to fire damage automatically. It's built in. If you're only going for that, you're good. You can you don't need this mod because you can get the 50% of physical damage converted to fire damage on the tree itself. But if you're doing any other skills, for example like Berserking Blade or Whirlwind, you generally want this mod. Also you can put the physical to fire gem on like one of your link as well if you want to do that. So it really depends on like how you want to do it. And second mod, I didn't bother rolling tier 1 life, so I just stick with the tier 2. And this mod though, I actually didn't want this at first. I wanted the plus melee skill gem, melee skill level maybe. I can't remember. It's an ominous craft. It's not mandatory. You don't need it if you don't want it. And for my suffixes, I have this as just to fill up some resistance. And this one's very important. You definitely want this on the strength. That's the reason that we chose the strength space gloves, because you can roll this mod. I think it comes from Ruling Ember, like either Ruling Ember or Technique Ember. It's like one of those purple, like high tiers embers. So yeah, definitely get this mod. And this you can get. So this is just for flat strength or flat attributes. You can either get like a tier 1 strength or strength and dexterity as well. I don't really advise anybody to go for strength and intelligence because like intelligence doesn't do anything to our build, but strength dexterity gives a little bit of attack speed, so it's still you can still take that, yeah. And that's about it. And for the belt, so this is where things get interesting. So for some of the belts out there, people are doing like Whirlwind, right? So they are most likely aiming for an infinity belt with the mod that says Quick Ritual. It has Quick Ritual on it. So the effect of Quick Ritual is that you get +1 channel energy, right? So you are paired with other like kind of gears. You can achieve so like if you're doing Whirlwind, you can always Steep Strike, and Steep Strike like on Whirlwind it's just so good. But it also takes up a lot of gear slots. For example, you have to sacrifice your amulet, necklace slot for +1 channel energy, and you have to like also get it somewhere else. I don't really know where we get it, but it's kind of taking up like too much of like slot or like resources on your belt, so that like preventing from you from like getting damage from other sources. So instead of doing that, I didn't go for the Quick Ritual one. I go for the no loose ends. You're gonna see like why I go for this in a while. So yeah, if you click the loose ends, that's like plus 35% attack damage on low life. This is also a additional or extra damage modifier, so it's calculated after the increase or decrease. And the best thing about this mod is that you can corrupt this on Infinity Belt, and if you hit this, it actually gives you like a non-full life will be considered as low life. So since we are reserving some of our lives from the skills, as you can hear, like I have an entire setup right here. I'm gonna explain it later. But the thing is, I'm always like not on full life, right? Because the definition of like being on full life is that your health is higher than 90%, which is not true for me. So I will always be considered on low life. So, and which means this will always be true. So I'm always getting this damage bonus. So 35% attack damage bonus. This is very good. And the most important thing is if you're using the axe base, you can roll this modifier in the prefixes on your axes. It's an ominous craft. So what it does is I can roll from 20% to 30%. So it gives at most like 30% additional attack damage, not attack damage, like general, just additional damage on low life. Since I'm always on low life, so this is always true for me. So basically, from this single like modifier and those two prefixes on my axis, I'm getting close to 100%, like I don't know, like 95 or something, close to 95%. If it's perfect world on your axis of like additional damage, which is kind of crazy, like if you think about it, right? Yeah, they're just like I'm just offering like a different way to stack your damage efficiently instead of just blindly going like a whirlwind, like quick ritual, and things like that. So onto the boots. For the boots, I also chose a boot with the like base resistance. Sorry, like a resist in the implicit, because character lacks resistance. So for this one, yeah, it's important to get this mod on your boots because since we're obtaining just flat physical damage, if you have this mod, you basically are multiplying damage by 1 point, like 100%, 111%, because what it does is like, for example, you get flat like 100 attack damage from your strength, so from this mod, and you have this modifier on your boots. It's not 100 anymore. It's now 100 like 11, because you see like it has 11% physical damage and it has fire damage. So it's also very important, and that's part of the reason I chose the fire base. Sorry, not fire base, like strength base boots. So yeah, and the other prefixes are just for lives, filling out some lives, and crafted life, because I didn't bother finish it because I don't find any like good ominous craft option in the prefixes of the boots. So I just I didn't bother crafting it. I just slap on the like enchantment for max life. And in suffocaces, you want this. This is not mandatory at all. It just my character, like I said, my character lacks resistance pretty badly, so I just slap on this. And for the other two mods, you don't really need movement speed as Rehan, because attack leave attack is kind of broken. So yeah, for like here I chose like tier 1 flat strength and a combination of strength and other attributes. Normally you want to go for a strength and dexterity, because like I said, dexterity gives a little bit of attack speed, but intelligence does nothing for the spell. So yeah, that's how I do it. And that's the okay. And onto the ring. So both of those rings should pretty much be identical. There's nothing like special of them. Just basically statistics. So you want tier 1 life. I don't have it because I didn't have the currency to do it like back then, so I just didn't bother, putting too much currency into it. So you can go for tier 1 life, so flat life, and this one is so you can replace this mod with the ominous craft that says I believe it was percentage max life, maybe. Yeah, I think it's up to 20% max life, so you can do that on this slot. And this modifier is pretty much also mandatory, right? Because it like gives 4% of physical damage that is fire, cold, and lightning damage, which means so it works like similarly as this modifier on boots. So it gives 4% of the physical damage as fire, cold, and lightning. So you essentially get like 4 times 3 as like 12% of total DPS boost. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to be honest. And for the suffixes, you can go for flat strength, and you don't need attack speed for sure. I just happen to roll a tier 1 attack speed, so I just stick to it. I didn't bother just redo that. You can also do tier 1 flat strength and tier 1 flat strength and dexterity. It doesn't really matter. It's very flexible. So for since more resistance of course, and this one is like a restless craft, so it's gonna cost you some money, but probably worth it, right? Because it gives like a ton of elemental resistance. And same goes for the other ring. There's nothing much to talk about this one. So onto the axes. So you got 3 prefixes right here. Um, this one is very important. This is the actual source of our flat damage, like where our flat damage come from. This is mandatory. And this one is, I didn't bother putting on, putting the. So I see like some people they will want to go for like gear physical damage or like gear percentage physical damage. I didn't want to do it because first I have to get this modifier since like two of my sub prefixes are already be taken. By getting just one of the gear physical damage and gear percentage physical damage will not help me that much. So I didn't bother do it like any of those. I just went for the percentage AoE damage. I think you can roll it from the ruling number. You can roll that. Um, like elemental damage will also be good, and that's just a prefix of the axis. For the suffixes, you want to attack your attack speed, of course, as high as possible, and tier 1 flat strength. And some people like to go for critical strike damage, but I personally prefer this one because I just like to be always critting the monsters. That feels kind of good. I don't know why. So it really up to you. It's really up to you. Doesn't really matter. So that's for gears. And onto the talent tree. So for talent tree, we're going for God of Might, Warlord, and Ranger. So we're starting with our first one. It's very standard. You just go for whichever makes sense for this build. Attack damage, basically. Attack damage, attack speed, attack speed. This one's very important because this one allows you to actually use the attack skill for without any cost. It's kind of broken to be honest, but definitely take this if you're going for attack build. This is just critical strike rating, crit damage. This is skill area, crit damage, and some attack damage. This one is totally not important, but we are not taking this just for the stats that it gives. We're taking this because we want this one after this. So plus 10% weapon attack speed. So this is very strong. Make sure you definitely take this note if you are doing any attack build. And you're taking God of Might. So this is actually very good. So no matter for example, your weapon attacks 1 time per second, by taking this node, you can so your weapon now will be able to attack 1.1 times per second. It's just a 10% overall attack speed boost. It's kind of broken, so definitely take this. And since we're doing strength stacking, always go for strength and percentage strength and chance to deal double damage per 100%. Per 100 strength. And we have over 2,000 strengths, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. It's 20% chance to deal double damage, right? And for the major nodes, we have burnout, just some extra fire damage right here. Notice that it has a bit of downside right here. Grants 20. So the wording is a bit unclear, but what it means is that if you severely injure them and an enemy, so which means as you can read here, if you just do a chunk of damage that takes away more than 35% of the enemy health, the enemy will actually be granted extra 25% extra fire resistance. Well, it sounds bad, right? But you can take the feeling nodes after it. So damage ignores enemy fire resistance, which means no matter how much fire resistance your enemy has, you don't care. Your damage doesn't care about it. No matter it's 100%, 50%, or 20%, it all means 0 to you. So by taking this node, we're just bypassing one of the defense layer of the monsters. Is very insane. Make sure you always take this. Plus, there's the other two nodes kind of bad on this build. So yeah, this is the 2 go nodes for this build. And for Warlord, still pretty standard. Just fire damage, whatever that makes sense to you. Some life, some attack speed, some skill area, max life, and aura effect. This one's quite interesting. I think it's very strong, so I took that. You can also go for other options, but I generally like the aura effect because we're using I think we're using 2 R's, yeah. So they both like benefits a lot from artifacts. So yeah, and some life regain. You don't have, it's not mandatory. You can take something else if you want to, but you know, always have like a little bit of regeneration, you know, in your build. It's kind of good. There's critical strike rating, crit strike rating and damage, and fire damage, and this is the fire conversion. You can take this, and if you have the conversion on your gloves as well, you will be able to use any skill that does like flat damage, and you'll be able to convert like 100% of damage into fire damage. So yeah, this is more strength. Yeah, more strength. Fire damage per strength. It's kind of crazy too. And some AoE damage. Chance to deal double damage. And weaken enemy when area skill deal damage. So we're most likely using area skills, right? So the enemy will always deal 10% less damage to us, which is kind of insane. Definitely take this note if you were running this tree. So this one right here, I'm gonna talk about later. All right, like that's just, it's a way of like to make min-max your build. We're gonna come back to it later. So for no major, we'll take wildfire plus 100% additional fire damage against low life enemies, which is kind of crazy. Like you'll be able to just kind of burst them down after they get to low life, which is very important. You can always take like sweep, this one as well, but it's for clearance. Like when it comes to bossing or something like that, it's not that useful. So I generally stick with wildfire, but you're free to take the sweep if you want. And if you have the second major node, I took focus blow. Area skill deals up to 40% extra AoE damage to MCR at center. So which means if you're using slash skills, the closer you are to the monsters, the more damage you would do to them. It's up to like 40% extra AoE damage. It's kind of crazy. So yeah, but if you think your damage is enough, and you want better clear, you can also take True Flame, which helps like if you, for example, like doing maps and something like that, you feel like, okay, my damage is like, it's just too much for like tier 7 maps, for example. You can always switch like True Flame, and like you can probably clear a little bit faster. But yeah, that solely depends on how you like to set it up. And the third tree is Ranger. Ranger is all about like critical strike, chance, and damage. So yeah. And we're also running Fervor on this build, so this tree is how we can obtain Fervor. So critical strike rating as well, crit damage, attack speed, movement speed, skill area, area damage, attack damage, and weapon critical strike rating. This is also very important. Make sure you take this if you're running the Ranger tree and you're running attack build, right? So fervor effects, and 0.4% crit strike damage per fervor rating. So you can have up to a maximum of 100 stacks of fervor. So this single node gives you about like 40% crit damage after you reach the maximum stack of fervor. This is kind of strong. And 60% crit rating and 40% crit damage. I didn't take this node because I have the similar nodes on my gloves and my axes, but if you don't have the nodes, like similar nodes on your gloves or axes, you can always take this. This is also very strong. Some melee damage, some critical strike, critical strike rating, and this is mandatory because this is the only way that we can gain fervor in this build. Well, not the only way, but like I think it's the most efficient way to do it. And for the gravity, not for gravity, what I'm talking about. Sorry, for the first major node, we want to take gravity. So that's 20% additional melee damage. The knockback doesn't really matter. I mean, this is pretty much the only one we want to take. If you are struggling with the critical strike rating, you can always take Fluke. It makes your critical strike have the lucky effect, which means it is calculated twice when you attack. and the best outcome will be taken when it comes to like calculating damage. So if you think your glitch rating is not that high enough, you can always take Fluke. And the second one will be impending. You know, I don't think I have to explain too much. It's just very broken. This talent itself. So enemy within 10 meters, where like 10 meters is like very big. It's basically like covers like more than half of your screen. So it says like they take 6% more damage per 0.25 seconds, 5 times. So they take up to like 30% more damage, which is kind of insane. It's considered as like another damage layer, like calculated after the extra damage, right? So you pretty much always want to take that. And now comes the skills. Alright, so for bossing, you can run Flame Slash. For mapping, you can run the skills called Berserking Blade. It's gonna give you tons and tons of like AoE, so you can clear pretty good, pretty well. I mean, yeah. So the setup's pretty much similar. Yeah. So you have a Raging Slash, Fusion, Precision Strike, critical strike damage, slash to it. Yep. And second one is Life Source, and those three. And lethal attack. Well, the melee knockback is definitely not mandatory. It's like, you know, doesn't really matter. So yeah, just feel free to take like any two of those, or like both those. Yeah. And okay, this is pretty important. So Bull's Rage, right? So it says the skill cost life instead of mana. So if we are running Bull's Rage, and we link some support skills that has like mana cost multiplier on it, so it will cost us like a tremendous amount of life, right? So for example, if I take this off right now, that take that as well off. If I click Bull's Rage, sorry, boom, that's how much life we can lose, right? Which we do not want. Like, we do not want this to happen, so we take Death Will. So what Death Will does is that support skill has minus 100 extra skill cost. So if you take Death Will, I mean, you're still gonna lose like some max life, right? Like over time, but you don't lose like that much HP instantly. So if I click Bull's Rage right now, so you lose nothing, but you're slowly degenerating, right? And it can be countered by, you know, whatever you're taking, like either like recovery skill, or you have like, you know, any self recovery in your gears, stuff like that. So yeah, definitely if you're running Bull's Rage, take Mass Effect, because I want to be able to like spam in like twice or multiple times in a short period of time. So I take this and go Death Will and go Mania, and always take a Warcry, right? Like always take a Warcry if you're running Steep Strike skills or like any attack skills, because they are just so powerful, right? There's no reason to not run them. Okay, so the reason that I'm running cost conversion on this is because Warcry consumes mana. Since like I'm running Death Will on Bull's Rage, I will usually be on 0 mana. You can see my mana is being slowly drained out. So now, like normally, so like if I don't run the cost conversion on the Fearless Warcry, just 1 sec. As you can see, I won't be able to use it because I don't have enough mana. So, but you know, instead if I take cost conversion, I now cost life instead of mana, and it's just like just a little bit of life, so it doesn't really matter. So for this, you want to Alliance Roars, cost conversion, and powerful Warcry. That's it. So for the auras, you want precise or non-precise weapon application, precise or non-precise fearless, and for this acuteness, I always take this because it gives like extra physical damage. So this is the effect of weapon application. This is fearless. You know, you see like just, you know, everything. They're just too strong. There's no reason to not take them. And yeah, you pretty much want to take Blood Restraint in order to like use all those 3 auras at the same time. It has to be like I think like above level 13. Sorry, like 17 or something. So make sure you get a high level one. If you don't have one, just buy one at level yourself. Here I take Stanos 1 because I'm using like 2 auras right here. So by taking this gem, I'm not costing not stealing any more mana, and I guess a little bit of like arrow effects. So why not? And now it comes to curse on hit setup. You can use the precise one. Use like a less curse effect, penalty. I don't know. Yeah. So you want to take Scorch, and Scorch does is that it makes enemy takes more extra fire damage, which is kind of strong. You want to run seal conversion, so instead of sealing our mana, it now seals our life. Since we have like huge life pool, we don't really care about like this amount of mana sealed, so we're totally fine about it. Now Abyssal Hatred, always, if you're running any curse skills, always take this. It's always good. And last setup is Cancel Critical Strike. Personally, I run Bloodthirst because this can be automated from this one, and it also benefits from the mania itself. So it's constantly refreshing or like being activated. So which means when I'm whether I'm mapping or bossing, I'll always have this go on. So yeah, cast on Critical Strike, and I also take Fixate just for like a short I'll be able to like burst bosses in a very short period of time. It's always good. And that's about it. And thanks for tuning in. And I probably release more videos about other builds there. So yeah. All right, thank you guys. See you later.